Okay, we're back again. This is so disconcerting because this Sony A7S camera records under wicked low light conditions. And we have here wicked low light conditions. I hope I can get enough glint to get to illustrate the things that I want to do here. But what I was talking about just a minute ago is the fact that as I progressively set this false shoulder back until I can get it to close in the gun, then I've got to try it in another gun or two. You know, this is going to be an incremental process because I'm going to grab a gun from behind me, make sure that it fits in that one. Let's see here. I am losing. I need to move that camera again. So, as I was saying before, this so-called art lens has a wicked picky focal length. I'm going to try to use this as my new working size here. It looks like I've got a little here. I went on manual focus because I've run into some power issues. This camera doesn't like being used as a movie camera. So, where I've been at here is when sizing these back and adjusting the die down in one's fancy Hollywood press. I use the term Hollywood press because there might be a few old guys in the audience that actually know what the Hollywood press is. Hollywood was at one time considered to be the Cadillac of presses. Big money, ram this big around. I mean, this thing was so aligned that you would think that you could, you know, perform wondrous things with it, but in fact it was no different than any other press. Just a big, heavy, massive 60-pound hunk of steel to carry around. Doesn't do anything that this thing won't do. Because the function of the press is not to produce linearity. The production of linearity by a press is a ludicrous premise. It can't work, doesn't work. Again, did I go too far? Did I go too far? Heel. Ooh, no, I thumb and all. Boy, I'm getting right on that with the heel. The thumb, maybe I should change my term to thumbing it down. Okay, so we bump her in just a little further here in my fancy press. What we're going for is a heel down fit, and then we need to take a brand new case or a series of brand new cases. Ooh, there we're going down, we're going down. See, now that's just tight enough that I feel like it might gall my bolt lugs. The galling of the bolt lugs is an unfine thing. Not a good thing at all, not the sort of thing. So, that said, I think I need to throw a little grease on these. I didn't feel anything. But this is just something to know. When you shoot as much as you're going to have to shoot if you get into this bench rest game, there's 3 spots on the bolt that needs to be addressed often. I'm using the green stuff. I got every different color in the book. I'm going to put a little dab on the bolt lugs. You'll notice by now, if you've watched more than 20 minutes of my, more than 5 minutes, more than a minute of my videos, or ever read my posts on the internet, I digress a lot because when I was a kid, I grew up in Minnesota, and we had something in the area called characters. Characters are in short supply these days because I don't know why. But characters are a wonderful, wonderful thing in this world. Characters are people who've developed a character, who present themselves. And one of the old guys in our area would start to tell you about a weasel trap he had just built, and he would just get going and he'd say, up, I've got to tell you this so I can tell you that. Then he would go off down a rabbit trail and he would explain something to set up the premise for, and then he would, I have to tell you this to tell you that. And really he was a great educator. What he was doing was just going through step by step, setting up the thing, and in the end he would come back around to the weasel trap and he would catch a weasel. And that's the essence of teaching, really. That's the essence of passing on information. So, my weasel trap is that this reminded me, I just almost galled, I didn't almost gall my bolt lugs, I'm far from it. But the three spots, the bolt lugs, which is what would have been galled by forcing, heeling, thumbing that case down into there. The primary, well, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused here. The primary extraction ramp is right up here, but we're not really there. The cocking ramp is here on the bottom side of the bolt, and it is that surface which, when you lift the bolt handle, drives the striker up and into a notch so that it's ready to be tripped by the trigger. This is the back end of the firing pin, for lack of a better term. And up here is something called the primary extraction cam. Something I never use because my guns don't click. I never pop them open. Even in fireforming, I heel it down tight. I put her in there, pull the trigger, and it just flicks open and falls out on the ground. And it would go back in. That's the beauty of proper fireforming. So the 3 points on a bolt, backside of the lugs, the engagement surface of the lugs, the cocking ramp, for lack of a better term, and the primary extraction cam. Need a little grease now and then. Grease is good for the soul. So, I've got a case here that will go in under duress. I've got two other cases here that didn't want swell foop that don't want to go in under any conditions. I'm going to go ahead and chuck those through the regime anyway. Just these are going to be, the common term is ciders. I don't do that. My ciders are my ciders have got to be just as good as anything else in the bucket because my cider is important to me. So the idea, this is just one of those things. Everybody says, well, take those there defective cases and put them in your cider pile. Yeah, right. Well, what good's a cider that doesn't shoot exactly the same as your match round? Don't get it. So much I don't get in this world. So I take one of these other ones that's been done just in the, just pressed into a standard die, and they came out pretty straight. Let me repeat. About the same feel. So, I'm keeping these a little separate here behind, even though it's hard for you to see that they're being kept separate. Now I need to screw this thing in just a fuzzlick more. I'm going to take that up out of there just because it makes it easier. This is so nice for demonstration. I tried a few of these and all of a sudden I started loading some BR stuff on it. And I realized that I can make just as good a cases with these. So there's presses all over this shop. Everywhere I turn I'm ripping my elbow on a press. Big ones and little ones and sideways ones and all kinds of presses. But they don't do anything. This one, they're handier. Some of them are progressive even. Some of them are, they got all kinds of handy features. But that's not what we're talking about here. Right now, there's enough residual wax on this, by the way, that don't worry, folks, that I'm going to gall or scratch anything. This is a hardened die. Bam. The reason I do this, again, understand, I could exert hundreds of pounds of force out this way. I'm not. I'm just doing this so that I can really assiduously feel. I can just feel what's going on. With this case, this size case, a good set of dies, and this press, I can go out on the field under strange conditions and set it by feel to where it drops into the gun. Literally, I can set my sizing by feel. I can change lubes, I can use something else, and I can just close it up and, yeah, that feels about right. I just dropped a case. One of my only 3 or 4. Okay, so I have 3 cases here that I'm using. Let's see, I need to wipe this down. If a patch falls on the floor, there's no patch, no bin to relegate it to except the garbage. If a case falls on the floor, I probably dinged it a little or this and that, but I can clean it off. When I say a patch, I mean a cleaning patch. I don't, a cleaning patch that's hit the floor is trash in my opinion, even if it's on the kitchen floor. Ooh, see, now there we go. I'm going to call that, take my word on this, healing, thumbing, whatever. Take my word on it. That's about 10 pounds of pressure. I bet I could lift a 10-pound fish with that pressure that I'm using. But there we are. I always forget this old left eject gun. Great gun, shoots good. There we go, that's a one-shot deal. Now, this is key, folks. When I said 4 earlier, I didn't misspeak. Now we've wasted a couple cases out here. I'm going to end up pulling 5 of these out and I'm going to use them for my load workup. Instead of being cider cases, they're going to be load workup cases. Alright? So now I take one of these ones that's got a major step in it, and it's so tough because I can see the step from my perspective, but I am not the camera. So I'm looking into the monitor here. Maybe you can see that step in there. This case will go in that far right now in the chamber, so I give it just a smidgen, just the tiniest bit of this here Hornaday unique case lube we got here that I making these cases. I'm going to fill me with some Vitavore powder. And anyway, I'm the master of malapropism. So we go in, boop. Now this is a case that would come right out of this rack. Here shortly I'll start slamming these through. This should be just a wee tad bit higher and harder than it was before. Now remember what I showed you earlier in a video about the fact that doing this in 2 might produce a wrinkle right there? It has. I can't feel it, but I can see it. I can see a discoloration right here in the middle of the neck. Don't know if I can get enough light on that case for you to see it there, but there is a slight something or another. Hopefully Jackie Schmidt's method of turning these on the lathe is going to iron this out well enough to take care of that. We're going to find out. We are going to find this out because I'm excited to try this method. Look at that. Now, unfortunately, because I'm a construction guy, I have a tendency to make easy things look hard and hard things look easy. There's times I get in there, oh, I'm just, you know, it looks like I'm really giving it, and I'm not. In that case, I was still giving it the full 10 pounds. I just wasn't grunting as I did it. It's enough that it's tight. It's tight enough that I feel it will withstand the force of that 22-pound block falling on it from the foot out of the sky. I am dead serious when I say it's like dropping a cinder block on the case. So these 2 right here did come out of here. They should fall right into rotation. But what I'm going to do, because I'm weird like that, I'm just going to go like this to indicate that these were those first 2. Now here's a funny thing. All of you know about culling cases and shoot culling cases and do what the target tells you and pull those cases out, throw them in the garbage. Well, I've taken that test a lot farther. I've taken a lot of cases that have shot out of the group or have shot bad and set them aside and then turned around and rolled them back into the groups. Bottom line is, I absolutely expect to never, under any conditions, the best of testing conditions out of my range, I expect to never be able to tell the difference between these 2 cases that were done one way, these 2 cases that were done another way, but I still do things like this. These ones, I'm going to go back here. It'll last a while. Again, these cases will be used for my load workups. Here's my rationale there. I take these cases out and I play with my tuner, I play with my load, I play with things trying to make them go into one hole. If these cases go into one hole, enough said. You know these are gonna because they're all the same. But bottom line is I don't expect these cases to be any different. I'm anal enough that if I drop a match case on the ground, it scares me a little bit. If I fire one more times than its compadres, that's one of the reasons I need a lot of cases. I need to roll through them. I don't just shoot up to here and then reload these and call it good. Nor do I like to just shoot up to here and then shoot those into the berm or shoot them for practice, because barrels are precious to me. Barrels are a lot of work. Barrels are like, when you're a kid, it's really fun to go out and peel out. There, I dated myself. It's really fun to go burn the tires off Mom's car. Right now I've got a bunch of relatives that are into drifting. Drifting is a great sport. You know, they got hot rod cars, 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 horsepower. They're buying tires. They go out and they do a drifting competition. Well, you know what? You lose the drifting competition and you still burnt through multiple zeros in tires. Barrels are the same way. For a kid, it might be that he gets into drifting competition, finds out not only are tires a wear item, but you don't want to just burn them up. My thing is, I'm not going to shoot a handful of cases out just to play. If I've got a barrel to shoot in, it's got a finite life. And I certainly don't want to burn it up doing stupid. So, I roll these things through like rolling thunder. They're always rotating through. And now, what to do with these cases? I'm going to go ahead and drop these back in the box as I go. Now here's where, I mentioned earlier, in a lot of the sizing operations, I can see visually what I've done. This is the last time I'm going to be able to do that. I'm not going to take any special pains. I'm not going to move a chit along or make a marker. I'm just going to proceed to start popping these, and if I lose track and if I skip one, if I miss one, if I screw up in some way, which I have been known to do, and I'll say it again, Daddy always done told me, you ain't screwing up, kid, you ain't trying hard enough. So I'm going to go, this is slow now. Understand that what I'm doing here on camera is not the way I generally do this. But you must admit that it's not the kind of time burner that's going to, make or break a process. Now, at this point, I take this case, pop it back out of there. This is why I continued to film. I'm not going to make you watch me do all these cases. No, I'm not a masochist or a sadist, nor do I expect you to be a masochist. But I went in 4 or 5, clickety, clickety, clickety on the talk here. Now, let's find out if we got our feel. Ooh, we do. Look at that. That's tight. That's a crush. Now, we put that back in. We take the one right behind it. And we swap out the gun. Let's find out whether or not guns break, man. And if I get to a match and find out my gun's broken, which is just about every time, you go to a match these days and you haven't got your stuff together, you're going to lose. There's days and times when you can get away with murder, but today, even at a 600-yard match, pretty hard to. So now, speaking of broken, what do I have going on here? I thought I was getting on a case. Hang on here. Do I have a trigger? Why am I getting an extraction timing problem? What in the world? This is new. The Panda, I've done 3 Kodiaks and a few Pandas. All I can think of, now I digress again, all I can think of is that when I did some barrel work on this recently, I degreased the inside like monkey poo. And let me just go through the same greasing procedure again. I'll make it quicker this time because I'm not going to explain everything to everybody. I honestly thought that I had left an old case in there and it rotted to the chamber walls. I don't know, you saw it hang up. I don't know what to tell you. There's things, and there's probably somebody out there that's looking, going, hey dude, stop, you're doing, I don't know. Some days I'm an idiot, and some days I'm a winner. It is still a funky tiny bit out of time, but why in the world is that clicking? All great stuff. Now I'm wondering, this is another reason I hate rear entry action wrenches. I put this barrel on pretty tight. Not enough to warp anything, not enough to break it loose from its, well, again, I'm new to Pandas. On every steel action, I build a wrench. I build a wrench that fits. But to step back here, this is a case that has not been in a gun yet. I'm putting it in this gun. And I didn't cheat this, guys. Let's just find out where we're at. Try another one. Shouldn't do this too much because it'll screw with my fire forming, but okay, it's the same, it's fine, it's all good. So now I need to get this out, get prepped up, put this away. I will be looking into this though. I spent my whole life not clicking, and now all of a sudden for the first time this particular gun's got a click. Oh, wait a minute, trigger set wrong. No, that's not it. Well, I will get to the bottom of that. I'm just a long ways from the bottom right now. So, get old Charlie H out of the way here. And I'm going to go ahead and sit down and grab my coffee cup and pop through these, because it's a, this is, as I expect, not something that you want to be subjected to while I go through and reset all of these. But when I'm done, I should have, look at that, I didn't screw up, I kept my count correct. Those two go over there, and they'll be thrown right into rotation. When we come back, I will go turn a fixture in the lathe, and we'll start driving these in and turning them down, and now we'll get to the next fitting subject. We have to turn them so that they finish out at, I believe I'm going to set these at about 266, no, 240. Boy, I better just shut up now. I'm going to set them at something. I think about 266.4 is what I was trying to say, just over 0.266, 0.2658, 2.26, somewhere in there. I'm going to set my net clearance for this. This is a 5th generation reamer. I've only had about 10 guns on it. I don't really know how it responds with VLDs, but we're going to find out.